India versus Australia, it's always an exciting contest. I think it's, while the Ashes has its great legacy value and great tradition and the aura around it, and because India and Pakistan don't play against each other that often, because that would really be serious competition for the Ashes. In the absence of those, in the absence of India-Pakistan, India versus Australia over the last 15, 18 years, maybe 20 years has assumed a great, magnificent dimension. I think the turning point was the 2001 series in India and that marvelous turnaround match at Kolkata, and after that India versus Australia has become a rivalry that everybody looks forward to. So you've seen the frequency of visits has increased, whether it's India going to Australia or Australia coming here, and there's a lot of excitement amongst the fans, and there's a great rivalry, keen rivalry between the players, because the Indians today play pretty much like the Australians were known to play or still want to play. That needle touch, the ability or the desire to dominate the opponents has always been there in the Aussies. They're great battlers, never say die spirit, and that's something that the Indians have learnt from the Australians over the years. In fact, now a lot of people, critics I know, and some of the players say that the Indians actually play like the Australians. So where does that leave the Australians? I think in this series they have a lot to prove. Their record in India hasn't been impressive in the past few times that they've been here. I must qualify and say that that was in the test matches. In ODIs, of course, things level out quite a lot. But Australia, this time, without their pace spirit, Mitchell Starc, even Josh Hazlewood not around. So there's going to be a lot of responsibility on somebody like Pat Cummins, James Faulkner, Glenn Maxwell, Marcus Stoinis. A lot of them have played IPL for a fair number of years. Steve Smith, David Warner, perhaps the biggest of them all as an IPL star. So it's not that the Australian team is losing out too much on talent, even if Starc is not there, because they've got a lot of people with great amount of experience playing in Indian conditions. And I think from India's point of view, the big hurdles are obviously the big boys at the top of the order. That's David Warner and Steve Smith. David Warner for his fantastic ability to destroy an attack right at the top, and that really gives a team, any team, a big advantage. If the opener gets going and plays a long innings, maybe makes 100, it puts so much pressure on the opposition that invariably you can't catch up. So David Warner is the biggest challenge, I think, for India, and given the form that he's in currently. Remember, he's come from Bangladesh with back-to-back hundreds. Yes, they were in test matches, but he had a point to prove, Warner, that he could play in subcontinent conditions, and he's done that. Steve Smith, he's emerging as the man for all seasons for Australia in all formats, whether it's tests, ODIs or T20s, batsman fantastic. Of course, there is this ongoing debate whether he is the greater batsman than Virat Kohli in ODIs. I personally think that it's actually it's not a debate at all, because given Kohli's record in ODIs, 30 hundreds at this young age is fantastic by any standards, and therefore this is one area in which Steve Smith will have to do a lot of catching up. Having said that, India cannot afford to take Australia lightly. There's always been a needle touch to the contest, as I mentioned, and both teams would want to build up momentum from here. The World Cup is less than 2 years away. Yes, there's still a lot of time, and yet not enough to try out new players, to gather the momentum, because the minute you start losing, the morale can keep coming down and the momentum is lost. India have just come back from a 5-0 win over Sri Lanka. They'll want to continue that, and of course, Australia would want to build up on momentum. Where the stats go, head-to-head in India, Australia is still ahead. 25 versus 21. India has won 21 times, Australia 25. So, even statistically, a lot for both teams to play for.